Cedar Springs. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Cedar Springs City Council to order. Please rise for Thursday, December 9th, 2021. It is 7:01. Please rise and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Ms. Atchison.
Here.
Mr. Gross.
Mr. Gross indicated to me that he has a cold and asked to be excused.
I would take a motion to excuse Mr. Gross.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We excuse Mr. Gross and hope that he feels better. Ms. Hamel.
Present.
Ms. Nixon.
Yes, here.
Ms. Powell.
Here.
Ms. Race.
Here.
And Mayor Conley is present. Public comments. At this time, the council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment and public hearing portions of the agenda. However, council policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If after communicating with the city manager, no resolution is reached, the concern will be elevated to the mayor and then eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. If you would like a response, please state your name and address for the record. Is there any public comment at this time?
Good evening. Congratulations to the council's newest member, Ms. Hamel, and congratulations to the new mayor, Ms. Conley.
I'm making my chair taller because I'm short.
And I really do appreciate this portion of the meeting. It just gives community members a chance to address all of you at the same time and just such an important part of local government. Sue Wolf, I'm sorry, 15290 Tisdale Avenue, Cedar Springs. And no, I'm not a resident, but I live in the Cedar Springs community. I love Cedar Springs. I'm grateful to call Cedar Springs home, grateful to have graduated from here. Our kids graduated here. And I'm hopeful that my obituary will read a resident of Cedar Springs. I just don't see boundary lines. I don't see within the city limits, out of the city limits. I see Cedar Springs community. So I'm sometimes asked if I'm a taxpayer, and I tell you, I guarantee you, I'm a very big time taxpayer to Cedar Springs. So hopefully it gives me a little bit of credible chance. 3 comments. I left a postcard with each of you, a couple of them. Hopefully you'll share that. And Getty is making available to the community a free movie. It's absolutely amazing. And it's a very rare opportunity. It's a premiere showing. It is not opening in theaters until the 25th of December. But in Getty was given a very, very special opportunity to show it right here at North Star Cinema. It's a true story about the legendary Kurt Warner and his wife. It's about how he dreamed and his commitment to family and faith and football. And I hope you'll consider it and tell a few other people. It's free to the first 200 people. First 200 people. That's all the seats they have. So we bought all 200. And then also, I know it looks like on your agenda, you're having a discussion about a potential park in front of the amphitheater. I would just ask for your careful consideration on this. I know the location of the amphitheater was specifically put in the far northwest corner to allow a lot of open area so that people could always hear and see whatever that event might be. And I just think it's critical that you hang on to that area. We have 2 other parks that are in great need of some new equipment and some additional equipment and lots of TLC that I think could really benefit from an enhanced playground. And I hope that you'll maintain that grassy area there for the amphitheater performances. And thirdly, I'm here to ask again, for your consideration in bringing a pickleball facility to our community. About 4 months ago, Cortland Township started researching, and in 4 months, they researched it, they got bids, they passed it. It is in the works. It is amazing to watch that group of people. Not quite as good as you guys, but it was pretty impressive. It was really impressive. So they've got a $280,000 court, 8 courts going in there this spring, and it is beautiful. Greenville has put in 6 new courts, has resurfaced them. Rockford's in the process. Everybody's doing it. I want our community to have it. I just can't tell you how this is such a big thing. We started it here. I actually was just playing. I'm going to go back. We are playing 5 days a week at beach. We have almost 100 people in our little Cedar Springs club, and it grows every single night. We have new people. There are so many benefits to pickleball. It would enhance our community. People will eat here. They will shop here. They will be bragging about Cedar Springs. Well, Cedar Springs has a beautiful facility. You want to go there. And it's happening. It really is. Communities that have them they are drawing attention and growth. I know I gave you some data about why it proves that it's the fastest growing sport for the last 8 years in America at the master plan session that you had. So you should have that data, or you can look up your own to feel confident that you're getting it. I'd like to offer my services free of charge for whatever that's worth. I'm willing to write grants. I'm willing to have fundraisers. I'm willing to bring in teams of people to make it happen. I know we can do it. I think about you guys as truly being leaders, and you've heard that from several people over the last few years. You have shown by example the benefits of collaboration, of working together, not only as a team here to the public, but working with organizations within your community. And you have shown Kent County, West Michigan, what you can do. I mean, you've done it. So I'm hoping that you'll consider this as another opportunity.
We're inviting you back to talk about that in more specifics in January.
Well, can I say it like this? You've heard probably enough from me. I think you know all that you need to know about pickleball. I think you know there's a passionate group of people that will work with you to make it happen. I'm going to say the pickleball's in your court. You're up to bat. You can ace it, call in your team and ace it. And I really believe you can make it happen. Or you can choose to relinquish your serve and whatever. I know you have so much on your plate. I know there are so many needs. I know there's so much going on. If you guys want to make it happen, I know you can get a team of people to help you make it happen. So I personally still see a lot of advantages on working with the school on that court. We personally have funded all the improvements. We'll have 3 courts there. I still believe you could double your taxpayers' money by working with the school and put another 3 courts in there for I'd say $15,000. We can make 6 courts there. I think it's an option. If you aren't comfortable with that, I respect that too. If you want to do your own facility, I think that's certainly an option. I think,
Over 4 minutes.
Okay, so I really want to put you guys up to serve. You call me if I can help. If it's not something you're interested in, that's okay too. So it's not really okay, but I'll make it okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Hi, my name is Kurt Maybe. I'm from the CBDT. My home address is 15022 Ritchie Avenue. A couple of things here. First off, clock faces on the clock. We're putting new ones on the clock up there. There are going to be bigger ones with just the numbers, so it's a little bit clearer on that side of it. So they're going to be 3-foot clock faces
Oh, nice.
compared to 18 now. So, okay, so that's going on. The trails have been paved on the north side of the creek. Looks very nice and neat. All we got to do is make sure we trim around the edge of the trails and keep it that way. We've got a group also working on identification of the plants on the north side of the creek as educational standards. So got that going. And thanks to whoever decorated the trees in the heart of Cedar Springs, the red and white and the Christmas tree looks phenomenal.
I think that's the chamber.
DDA did
Wow.
that.
DDA, that was beautiful. Really nice. So anyways, I was asked to come over here tonight, so here I am. I was talking, Mr. Womack is working on the heart of Cedar Springs playground area. And I disagree with it. And the reason I disagree with it is the location, the size of it. From the beginning, we've been working on this, and of course, things morph a little bit. But what our plan has been is to take the north, if you will, the amphitheater, the shell, and the angles that they go out. One goes out basically the path that goes down to the amphitheater, the paved path that goes down there off the street. The other one goes out to where the two pavements come together. Where the proposal is to run playground all the way from by the creek, all the way out towards Maple Street. And then leaving roughly 40 yards for seating for the concerts, which create a concern for me. A, because I believe that our concerts are going to continue to grow. B, there's been an awful lot of activities have gone on with bounce programs and whatnot in the library. I mean, just tons of stuff that use that entire area. If we put playground equipment into there, it's going to gobble up a chunk of that. And that's roughly 20 yards that we're talking about off the trail. Third thing is, I think it's third thing, safety. Drawn upon my experience, the reason that the playground area was going to go off the projected line, sound line of the amphitheater north to the creek is so that as I sat watching the concert or whatever activities going on, my grandkids can be playing over on any little stuff that we have there. And there's a contained area with a creek on one side, and I'm able to see them all the time out of the corner of my eye. That's really important to me as compared to having to run all the way out to Maple Street, where we have the parking lot on one side of it and the street on the other side of it. That just, we have some strange ducks around here.
I have a question that
Yes.
maybe you can answer, maybe you
I'll try to.
can't. And if you can't, this is after reviewing the planning commission discussion about this the other night.
Okay,
Do we have a number of people that we think is the maximum amount that could attend a concert there based on parking, seating? I mean, so let's say that, I don't know, the Queen of England wanted to come and give a speech. We would say, I'm sorry, we don't have the facility to host you, Madam Queen of England. Do we have a number?
I asked that question the other day and I'm told that those numbers do not come from the engineers or whoever else. Because like if you design an auditorium, you have so much space. This classroom has so much space. I've asked what that is for an outdoor facility and we don't have those numbers, but I would be curious to know what those numbers are also.
Okay, I didn't know if when you were designing it, if you had those numbers in mind, because I know one piece of it would be parking, that obviously people can walk and bike up the trail. The other piece of it is just sheer bodies in the space. And at some point, as we see from like Astro World, and I mean, you don't want more bodies in a space than what can safely move around. And so that might be a policing question I would need to ask at some point. I don't know if it's an engineering question, but I feel like that's a piece of the thing that we need. So, but you don't.
As
have a
we were
specific
planning it,
number.
looking at things, as we were moving ahead, our thought process has always been that we need to be able to seat about 500. That would be a nice sized crowd. So that's kind of what was always in our mind as we did it. But not only that, but also the line of sight. As you all know, the library is set on an angle. She's a half open door welcoming people into Cedar Springs, coming down Main Street and off the White Pine Trail. So the clarity of vision going back up across there is an important one also.
I'm sure there's a safety number per person that you
Yes.
should have in a outside. I don't know what that number is, but I'm sure there is a number. We should probably figure out what that is per person.
Yeah.
And then see what that looks like as we talk about like what setback should
Yeah.
be. Because I feel like that's a piece of this equation that we haven't.
I
yet.
agree with you. Yes.
Do we have a parking number? How many parking places are we trying to establish?
That's where it gets weird because like when I go down there, I walk.
Yeah, so people could walk, but I'm just wondering how many, I know that you, Mike, were you saying something about that cul-de-sac thing?
So keep in mind that the Heart of Cedar Springs master plan that you've been looking at is not all going to be paid for through a grant.
Right,
Talking about a master plan that will take years to develop.
right.
The circular drive that appears in the northwest corner there, I think has approximately 30 parking spaces.
Mhm.
I think there's an additional 11 that are going to be created nose in on Maple Street. Of course, that will eliminate the parallel parking we currently have.
Was that more for the handicap?
I don't think they're marked handicapped.
Okay, I know, but are they better for handicap or is parallel better?
I would assume that these are going to be better because they're being created more for ADA accessibility. Because they join up with the asphalt paths, they'll be going around the entire park. Additionally, we're going to have, I think, 10-ish new parking spaces under the plan, where the old fire station building was. We're also hoping to create interconnectivity with the parking lot by the fire station with sidewalk down Second Street. You know, people always want to be parked within 2 inches of the thing, but it just doesn't exist. It can't.
Am I asking these questions in the wrong?
Yeah, I
spot?
was gonna say,
Yeah,
we'll expand
okay,
on it.
yeah.
I just didn't know if,
I just
I
thought,
didn't know if
"Ding,
Kurt
this came to
had,
my mind.
I didn't know if Kurt had a
Yeah,
number.
Information, yeah.
I'd
And
already, like I said, I'd asked that also when Mike, when I met with him the other day. I said, us, when we were designing it, we always kind of had, with 500, that should seat 500 comfortably.
okay, that's
Okay.
helpful to me.
So, going down, let's see. Anyways, our concern is just the safety of the kids, quite honestly.
Mhm,
Being able to see it. I don't want my grandkids behind me.
mhm.
God help them, if they're like me, we're gonna have trouble.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But if I can see them, then I know they're safe and whatnot. So that's kind of where my real push comes from, besides the open view and plus the, you know, as I told Mike the other day, you know, I am one of them. I park up in the old fire station lot and set my chairs up underneath the maple trees right there and watch concert from those areas there too. So we are spread out an awful lot. One of the things I'm gonna say a couple of things here, and please bear with me onto it.
Sure, you could.
When we
can
met
have
the other
some
day,
extended
when I
time.
met the other day, we were told that we might need to do some trade-offs, and I don't know why we need to do trade-offs, quite honestly. We've got space to do lots of things in Cedar Springs. You asked about parking, Lisa. We have parking on the north side. We got area to come off from Pine Street. That whole corner lot right next to the White Pine Trail can be developed. CS Manufacturing, we open up our lot on the weekends for big events also, right there at one of our plants. You know, so we've been in conversation with another landowner about getting some more lot close by. So we're very aware of that. We want to make sure that we have that. So we can talk more about that. Anyways, a trade-off, and I'm not quite certain why, but that's more to be done. The other aspect that bothered me the most was I was told that City of Cedar Springs did not need permission from CBDT to put this playground in. That's exactly right. You don't. But however, you know, I was raised in Cedar Springs, and a handshake and an agreement has always been rock solid. And so when I deal from that side of it, you know, this is what we're doing. We're working in partnership, and most of you have been around here long enough with us that you know that the CBDT has, in good faith, stepped forward with a lot of money and done a lot of stuff for Cedar Springs, and just shared the camaraderie with everybody in Cedar, including you guys with your help onto it. I want that to continue. I don't want anything to go awry on that in any way, form, shape, or matter. We've been more than blessed, to say the least. Like I said, if I tell you and the CBDT tells you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this way. And, but I expect it to go both ways on this. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
The bottom line was given, you know, I was told to ask, do you guys want to give up free money? My question always is to what it costs someplace else. You know, if something were to happen to one of my granddaughters, I would be crushed because I wasn't watching properly or safely enough. That's all that I'm talking about, is just the safety.
Absolutely. Certainly.
This, just so you know too, though, this plan is a conceptual plan. It's not
Sure,
necessarily a plan written in stone.
sure. Oh, I'm aware of that.
So just, it's just something that's laid out right now.
I'm very aware of that.
Yeah. So please give it, that's where I wanted to know about the, like, how many people and how,
Yep.
then we need to know how much space do we need for each person?
Yep. Yep. So that's basically where I'm at. Any questions for me? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you. Happy holidays, y'all.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Awesome.
And thank you once again for all your help and support. Make Cedar nice.
Yeah, thank you for all the money and effort and energy and vision you've put in. Okay, any other public comment? Hearing none, we will move on. There's no public hearings. At this time, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda. Do we have any changes?
We
Mr.
have some additions if you would bear with me.
Mhm.
I do have a resignation from the Planning Commission from a Miss Ashley Hamel. I would like to add to, I guess, the consent agenda, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I have a resolution, which unfortunately I received about 5 o'clock this afternoon. It's a paper copy that was included with your materials. I'd be fine with putting this into the consent agenda. This relates to the MDOT bridge that we're getting a 95%
Sure.
grant on.
Yeah, that's certainly not new. We've been,
Apparently, this was sent to somebody who was not me in the organization back in August, and that is now screaming, where is that thing? So it was sent to me at 5 o'clock today. I said, I'll try to get it approved tonight. It's basically saying, yes, we agreed to pay our portion of that bridge,
which is a 10% match, correct?
5%.
5% match.
About $1.6 million, but we could put into action items if your preference, whatever. you
Yeah,
want.
we've been budgeting for that
Oh, yeah, we've got this money, yeah.
for years.
Madam Mayor, do you have a preference where you?
How does the council feel about it being in consent agenda?
I would support that.
Okay, so consent agenda?
I'd support
Yeah,
that.
I support it.
Also in front of you is some closed session material. I know, I apologize. I again got this today as well. It should not be a surprise to any of you, except there are some obviously fine details in there, and we'll be going over it at length during the closed session. My last note is Jerry Gross is sick, so we've already taken care of it.
And I don't know. There's lots of email I was trying to plow through on the appointments, the mayoral appointments.
Yes, thank
You've got Mr. Jernigan.
yes, I spoke with Mr. Jernigan and he seems now eager to be on.
He's very excited, yes.
I guess we probably should remove Ms. Hamel from CA2.
Correct. That's what I was just gonna say. And then that is Shandell.
I
think-
guess I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, I got that. I actually got that to the clerk before I got Mr. Jernigan.
I wasn't made aware of that. I mean, I anticipated it, but I wasn't aware of it.
So Shandell Naperlinski is going to be the planning commission person that is going to replace Ms. Hamel.
Excellent.
So I had Lisa and Renee you were my next if she had said no, but I figured we have another person willing to step up. Well, I have 3 names that I have to go talk to people about for the building one that I just got names yes. So I still have to make some phone calls, but I got some help getting some names. The former mayor, or as I call him, Mayor Emeritus, helped me find some people. So
Madam Mayor, are you looking for a motion to approve the agenda?
I am, well, is there anything else, Mr. Womack, that we're adding?
I just want to make sure that Ms. Blackmer is comfortable with that. She is taking the minutes for us.
Okay, so you have the change to remove, to add the resignation of Ms. Hamel to the consent agenda, the addition of Ms. Naperlinski, and then in addition to the consent agenda for the motion on the bridge,
Resolution. about-
resolution on the bridge. Yes,
Yes.
all right.
Fabulous. I would make a motion to approve the agenda with those amendments.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I have so the dates for the new meetings, is that under the consent agenda?
Dates for the appointments, do you mean?
No, for the regular meetings for city council for next year, for 2022.
Oh.
60.
D, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I have one date that doesn't work for me. I don't know if you have to pull that out or
Ms.
what.
Hamel, you have the authority on your own. If you'd like to take it out, we can put it under discussion or action.
Oh, okay, can I do that?
Yes.
I would like
Sure.
to take items 6D into discussion.
You can do that.
Madam.
So that would be item G.
Madam Mayor, before we do that, we do have to approve of it at some point. Otherwise, we're not going to have a meeting in January. Maybe action item to discuss it and not approve it.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that's fine.
Sorry, I was unclear with.
So it would be G as a discussion and then
No, I think
Well,
we
no,
need
No.
7C.
just put it under action. So C.
7C.
Blackmer, do you have that?
Are we good on that? All right. Anything else from the council that you want pulled from the consent agenda or? Okay, so any other discussion? I will take a roll call vote. Let me get back to my list. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Mr. Gross is absent. Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon.
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Race.
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. Moving on to action items.
Madam Mayor, I believe we.
Oh,
adopted the
sorry,
agenda.
we did. Consent agenda.
I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda with the changes.
Second.
Any discussion? I will take another roll call vote. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Race,
Yes.
and Mayor Conley votes yes. Moving on to, sorry, I have too many sheets of paper here. So I'm flipping back to the computer. We have a lot in the consent agenda. Action items. Motion to approve the planning commission bylaw modifications. Any discussion on this?
I have something.
Okay,
So, Mr. Womack had mentioned that the planning commission was just talking about like a rogue city manager, but the way that it is phrased in here makes it pretty clear that it has to be an actual like natural disaster, so I'm fine with how it is.
okay. Any other? Questions, discussions? So the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the planning commission bylaw modifications.
Support.
Any other discussion? There's no money. We don't really need a roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Motion to approve the release of drain easement and damages document and authorize the city manager to sign it on behalf of the city.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I will just say hooray that we are wrapping up this whole piece of this. Are we still looking at putting some picnic tables there? Is that kind of the,
Different location, but
oh,
that's something the DD will be discussing on Monday.
okay, wonderful.
That's the drain that goes under the parking lot of the fire barn, right? Fire
This
station.
is that one.
Kind
okay.
of. So we have the brand new drain that's. this
Right,
big.
you can stand
Um,
inside it.
Yeah, and then this is a little drain that pre-existed a long time ago. This drains in the new fire station building and kind of the back of the Jose's restaurant. It kind of skirts the south edge of the vehicle bay. But the drain commissioner just wasn't willing to maintain it.
Okay.
And we probably need to take care of it, being that it's right
Yeah,
next to our fire station and,
Well, in worst case scenario, if we want to, we can flowable fill it in the future, but for the time being, it drains in an area which we think should be drained.
we should be drained. Makes sense. Absolutely. All right, so any other discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to item C, which is the voting on the meeting dates.
I would make a motion to approve resolution 2021-23, a resolution to approve regular meeting dates of the city council from January 2022 to December of 2022.
Second.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to mention that I won't be here on May 12th then.
You you can be excused. That's
All right, thanks.
it's totally entitled to be gone.
Just don't talk about anything too important that day.
Okay. We'll
a
try
note.
to see how that works.
So, Madam Mayor, I also will be gone out of town on the January and February meetings.
Okay.
I can attend obviously via Zoom.
I hope you're doing something fabulous and wonderful.
I hope so. Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. We have our dates. Moving on to discussion items. Public staff Zoom participation ends December 2021. What is your feelings on this for the council? I'll start with Rose.
I think a never-ending Zoom is fine with me. Maybe it's a little difficult for council as far as voting, but it's nice to have people to be able to participate. They might not be in town. You're going to be out of town. You can still Zoom into the meeting. I think it's an important thing that we could consider just keeping on permanently to some degree.
Ms. Atchison.
I agree. And it's something that can even pop in if you're not feeling well, you can stay away from everybody else and then we can still have a quorum.
So if I could just interject for a second. What we're really talking about is public participation and staff being able to use this. Unfortunately, state of Michigan law tells you guys what you can do and cannot.
Mhm.
Currently, it says that if you have a health reason,
Mhm.
you can participate. I guess theoretically, you could be shipped off to a military zone. That's also a legitimate reason. But you can't, just because you're on vacation, use the Zoom feature.
But you can.
Yes,
But you can listen, you just can't vote.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You can even participate in discussion.
Oh,
You just can't vote.
And I've seen 2 bills in the state house that would extend this basically indefinitely to allow board members to use it, but neither one has passed.
okay.
But for the $30-ish per month this costs,
I think it's a huge benefit.
Ms. Nixon.
I think this goes toward transparency and access. If it's difficult for someone to get out of their house for whatever reason, they can still actively participate in their government. I think we spent a lot of money on a sound system to make access and transparency a priority. And I think this is part of that.
Ms. Hamel.
Yeah, I agree with that. My biggest thing is for the public to be able to just use their phones or their computers or whatever, have it playing in the background if they're not just sitting there with it. But at least they can be in the know.
Ms. Race.
Same, I agree.
I also feel really strongly that it's a benefit to our staff that they don't have to all be here. I really like the idea that they don't have to give up their entire evening to be able to hop in and tell us about their specific piece of it if they don't want to. Like, we've had Sergeant Probst zooming in quite often, and our clerk and to be able to have the staff able to do that feels huge to me. In addition to allowing the rest of the community to zoom in. So that would be, I think we have kind of a consensus. We can vote on this at the next.
so I don't need you to vote on it.
Okay,
Just without objection, I'll authorize it on my own.
sounds
I could-
fabulous.
If I could, just one thing. So the sound system was originally purchased because we do live stream to YouTube.
Mhm.
Regardless.
Yes, we do.
Regardless of what's going on in Zoom. So it's not like we're not also, allowing people to hear the meetings if we don't do this. But this authorizes public comment and, as the
Mhm.
Mayor said,
Yeah,
council
so-
staff.
Further extension of something we were already doing.
We had already invested in the equipment.
Yes.
So for those who might not remember, that was when Counselor Nixon got on the council, that was one of her primary goals, was to get us on the internet and get us on YouTube so that people could watch the meetings and have them recorded. So that has, do you remember?
Yeah. I just
Less than
found this-
$100 in the speed of shipping. Ron. You could do it.
Right, right.
I still got the CDs.
It was pretty fabulous.
It was.
All right, moving on to discussion on marijuana caregiver fee schedule. And Ms. Powell, I believe you're the one that wanted the discussion on this?
Yes, I do. I was wondering where we came up with the $50 fee, which seems extremely low for a marijuana establishment. I know it's a different license. There's no doubt about that. But there's really very little oversight, and Mike tells me that's because that's how the state wants it. But I just feel that we need a little better handle on it. And as I looked at the form, we discussed whether if it was a rental house, if they had to have the landlord's permission. I just feel like we're just letting anybody and everybody, maybe nobody will, but we've heard there was a storage building or something that had 76. Well, apparently it's popular with somebody, but how would you know in your neighborhood if you had 1 or 6 and you got cars coming in and out, picking up weed, and the possibility of robberies, or it just seems like it's a little bit too loose, that maybe there's no site plan.
Now, to clarify, we can't actually do that, correct? Mr. Womack?
I mean, there's a lot of things that were just stated that were not true. Part of the problem is, it's not that this is what the state wanted, this is what the voters approved of in 2008.
Right.
Then Byron Township attempted to control it, and the court said, no, you can't do anything. It wasn't until 2020 December that we were given any authority as a city to regulate this. And we're also ignoring the fact that, okay, so somebody might be able to grow 72 plants under this with the city's control of odor control and registration and
Right.
stuff like that. But under the 2018 law, you can still grow 12 plants without registering.
Right, just for yourself.
So this is what happens when you have 3 voter,
Sure.
ordinances. And
My concern about this when we were talking about it and the amount of money was, so we have a licensing structure fee, and our licensing is basically supposed to cover the cost that our staff has in dealing with whatever the processing is. And like, what exactly does our staff have to do in this course of this licensing and registration? Like, are they going to be making follow-up phone calls if they haven't turned in their license? Is there, like, how lengthy is the form? Is there a background check that has to be done through police? Is there, because to me, the fee should reflect what it costs our staff in dealing with it. And I don't know that I'm fully clear on like what it is our staff has to do.
Can I ask a question real quick?
sorry, did you want me to address that?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have you
yeah,
follow up?
So the reason it was set at $50 is because under the ordinance as it's written, caregivers are treated as a home business, home occupation business. In our ordinances, there's a certain number of things that we're expected to do for home occupations.
Sure,
Home occupations under the fee schedule is set at $50.
I see.
And for what it's worth, way back when, and I don't know where this came from, but there was a provision under the fee schedule for medical marijuana, which was set at $50. So I figured that the council had at some point discussed the matter and decided that $50 was an appropriate amount for that.
Okay, I don't recall this, do you?
I've been talking about
Marijuana for so
much
long.
marijuana. Oh, and anyways, after Lisa is done, I have a question of
Okay,
Rose.
Lisa.
But why didn't we vote on this?
Yes.
Okay,
we
so
voted to
this
approve it.
we approved already.
Yes.
Okay, so I was just like
Rose's
floundering around in my
question-
head. wondering
Rose's
why-
question is,
Right,
is-
was it a good amount?
it 50
Yeah.
feels low to her
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
what the expectation is. And so
Right.
that's where my follow-up was, what does it cost our staff to process it?
I just wanted to make sure I was
Is-
on the same
And,
page.
and
as
I
what
guess
this
I'm
is
back
going
to
on.
the, so it's a home occupation,
Yes.
but is the licensure for it beyond what most home occupation licensure city regulation would be?
So we don't provide a license,
Okay,
it's simply registration.
okay, registration. I'm using the wrong word.
But the courts have really, and of course the voter, the 2008 law, have really tied the hands of the city. Beyond essentially asking them to describe what kind of odor control that they're performing, there's not a whole lot else I can actually enforce
Okay, do we go check on their odor? Like, is that a thing?
on a complaint basis.
Okay. And have we had any of that?
I'm aware of one house.
Okay.
That every couple of weeks, their neighbors aren't too terribly happy about it.
So there's the possibility that our code enforcement officer might have to go sniff around, literally?
So not to get too complicated on things, but we have to determine the source of the odor. If the source of the odor is a registered, 2008 caregiver situation, we can enforce that through the registration under this law.
Okay,
However, if it is 12 plants under the 2018 law,
then we can't, there's nothing we can do.
well, we can, but it gets more complicated.
Okay, just like you can't have stinky garbage at your house. Okay, is there anything you can add to this, Mr. Probst? No? Okay. Ms. Nixon?
So I guess I'm trying to understand, Rose, what you're aiming for. And because you're saying that this fee is too low, and because it's low, we might have a lot of people doing this. Are you looking to, I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. I'm so sorry.
Well, I would like to make sure that our cost is covered for handling this. And I've looked all over for the B ordinance, and I can't find it for some reason. It must be somewhere. And I would, for this $50, we have no site plan or
We can't
can't
ask,
require
we can't
we
ask for
can't
one.
ask it. And it's just disturbing that $50 is gonna open you up for business in a residential area.
Well, it does for other things too.
Well,
This is a little more serious. It is a marijuana establishment.
But the law says.
The law says.
and I will say that there may or may not be a neighborhood that I have some experience with, where I may or may not know of a house that this is happening at. And as long as there isn't a problem, there won't be a problem, is what my feeling is on that. But I think $50, you're right, it is a low entry, but I think that's probably good, so that at least we're aware of where these places are and have some kind of trail.
Can we find out if there is one in our neighborhood? Let's say there's cars going all the time and you got to worry about them getting robbed.
Okay, so is the registration public?
We haven't looked into the implications under FOIA yet. Obviously, because it's really a medical situation, I think staff would probably err on the side of not releasing this information.
It's been around since.
I think it was Ashley next, and then I'll come back to Lisa.
Yeah, my comment is that you do actually want it to be low because you want people to register. If you deter registration,
Yeah,
then
we
you've
won't
deterred,
get it.
actually,
Sure.
we can't do anything at that
So
point.
then there's less
'Cause that's the
ability
only
to
thing we can do.
enforce.
Is enforce the smell if we find it. And if people aren't registering, then you're just waiting for somebody to complain. Then we don't have any proactive power at all.
That's a really good point. Okay, Ms. Atchison.
That was about the same thing I was going.
And the caregiver thing has been around since, what did you say, 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not, it's been around
Yeah.
already.
I don't know that the registration part was.
No, I think that's.
So the actual service and if it's
Sure.
out of a house or whatever, that's
Right.
not gonna, has that changed in the last however many
You are-
years?
If you want my opinion,
Please.
you are not going to see more than one or two of these in the entire city in the next 50 years. One of the reasons that the city did not embrace the medical marijuana establishments is because there's no money in it. Right now, in the caregiver situation, there's no money in it. You're just not gonna see them. That's just
Sure.
my professional opinion. So this is one of those laws that we passed to give us some authority if it pops up as a problem. I just don't see it. It's been legal for 13 years.
Yeah.
So you don't see it being a thing where we're sending our code enforcement officer out constantly to try to determine, because again, I'm looking at the $50.
Now,
Yeah.
so like, there's no reason
And
to
people
have
are
a
gonna-
medical car. You don't need that anymore.
You can just grow your own,
This
You
came
can
up.
grow
because
your own
we
and you
found-
can go to the corner store. That's
Right.
buy it,
Yeah.
right?
This came up because we found a grow operation inside an industrial building, and it's more of a zoning issue than it is a marijuana issue.
Okay.
On the registration form, I was kind of concerned for the bee ordinance. If you're gonna have bees and you're renting a house, you have to have permission from your landlord. Is that,
Right, but you don't have a legal right to have bees.
Well,
if you register, you're,
No, but like the courts have said, you have a legal right to have marijuana as a medicine.
okay,
so to get more complicated, because we talk
Okay.
about marijuana all the
all
time.
right.
The courts have indicated, although they have not ruled,
Mhm.
that landlords can prohibit you from growing marijuana or processing marijuana in your house. But they almost certainly cannot prohibit you from having marijuana in your house. So you're right, and I'll be happy to add that to the actual registration form, that you have to get permission from your landlord. But whether I have it on the form or not, the landlords still have the ability to kick you out. And then also you had some concerns about the language regarding single-family use versus single-family zoning.
It was just the word.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That
I'll
freaked
make
me
that
out.
change as well.
Yeah, it was just going like, I thought it was in every zone and not said single family residential. Oh, man.
I'm glad we had this discussion. Do you all feel like did we
Yeah,
answer your
I'm-
questions?
I'm cool with it, yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we had that discussion. Anybody else have anything? All right, then we will move on to the discussion on the 5-year rec plan. I think we got a lot to talk about here. So how about I just start? Ms. Powell?
I can say this, I think the playground is taking up too much of the audience area. I agree with Kurt, and it is a conceptual plan. And I love all the stuff we want to put in, but maybe we can't have that much right now. We need to see how that's going to grow. And I'll tell you, when you sit down there and I talk to people and they love it that the kids have room to run and play. And they like it so much better than other concert areas because people are on top of each other. And I'd like to, save as much of that green space as we possibly can, plus put in the playground area where if you're sitting at the concert, you can see where the kids are. They're not behind you. Besides, they're noisy like kids are, and it's maybe kind of hard to hear the music and so forth. But I do support what Kurt says, is let's keep as much of that audience area as possible.
Okay. Ms. Atchison?
I don't think anybody's gonna have a hard time hearing the music. It's
Yeah, I agree.
loud.
You can hear it at my house.
My house.
Right,
Kids
yeah, I
too.
hear them. all. I don't think it's an either or thing. I don't, with a conceptual plan, I don't think that we need to be that excited and upset about it right away. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, I dislike the fact that we get things thrown in our face about we're giving you money, so you gotta let us do what we want. I'm sorry. You know, it is correct, that is the city property. Okay, but we do want to balance it. And I can understand where Mike was coming from with him trying to get that across. Two strong personalities are, it doesn't have to be a battle, we can deal with it. And I understand where Mike's points were coming from. We do not have to agree to everything the CBDT wants. There has to be some give and take again,
Do you have any specific feelings on
where it should be.
where anything should be, or things like the parking thing, just I'll wait till the end.
What
But
was
I
your
have
mic?
some specific
just-
things
but-
that I,
And which one has to be done for, I'm confused.
So,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes letting the manager talk and guide you where we're going.
Yeah.
So there's two things we're talking about. There's the 5-year rec plan,
Mhm.
which has to be done by February 1st. And I'm
Mhm.
anticipating that you guys would need to approve it either at your regular January meeting, or we're gonna have to set a special meeting before February 1st.
Okay.
That one's really not controversial.
Right.
If you read through it,
Yes.
oh, it's a longer document. It's not controversial. There
Right.
are some typos and little things, but I don't think there's an issue. I'm scheduled
yes.
in my free time to go through and give them a third update to the second draft. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay,
What we're also talking about, though, is the master plan for the heart of Cedar Spring.
right.
That's due by April 1st.
Okay.
We do have a little bit more time to talk about it and smooth things out and figure things out.
Mhm.
And I am trying to schedule a public forum with the engineers
Okay.
where we can do this all day long. And kind of give them more ideas. But thank you, Lisa. Sorry, Miss Atchison. I believe there was a little mischaracterization of what Mr. Maybe said about our conversation. But I did want to tell you guys that I do already have another option, which again came to me today. It was a busy day, which I'll be happy to forward to you guys. And it changes some of these things,
Sure.
to give you other ideas where things might go. But as I indicated in my email, everything's a give and take. And the closer you get to the creek, the more you're in the floodplain and other issues. In this plan, the bathroom's been moved, and now you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get the water line, a grinder pump, sewer line, all these other things that don't exist at that location. So leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah. And once again, yes, there can be some give and take, even if,
Sure.
because that whatever agreement wasn't written in stone. It's not.
Absolutely.
Drawn
What
out.
I'm looking for, are there specific things
Oh,
on
okay,
here
sorry.
that, no, it's okay. And I appreciate what you're saying.
Right.
What I'm looking for input from you is, are there specific things on here that you think work, don't work?
Right. I think that it's going to work to have a playground. Okay.
Mhm.
One, I think I like the concept of the natural playground. I'm still confused about the parking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parking is not working for me. I looked at
I'm
the
confused
pictures of
about
it.
that,
I
yeah.
like all kinds of
But
things.
other than that, yes, we do want to keep a big green space. The amphitheater is like the central area down there. We do want to have concerts. So yes, we do want to keep a green space, but does it have to be exactly there? I don't think. I like the trail. I like it. It's and most of the stuff in the 5-year plan is great. I don't really have anything. I'm
Okay.
just confused about the parking.
Ms. Nixon?
So I love the selection of playground equipment. I think that fits so well with what we've done in that area. I'm not married to the location. It sounds like maybe that's a bone of contention, and I can certainly see where either A, you'd want line of sight on your kid, or B, you just wouldn't want them so close to the road.
That piece was concerning to me.
I don't understand that loop-de-loop over there. That's gonna be parking. I'm not certain why that's. I don't get that. That's where I'm at with that. I don't get it. Maybe over there would be a different location for this playground equipment. I think that, overall, we're all pretty solid on, we like the general concept, maybe we just tweak the layout.
I'd encourage you to look at the Plan B, which I sent to you about 2 minutes ago.
Okay,
And like I said, the engineer, he seems pretty convinced that the little loop-de-loop parking works in other locations, and they've done that in other locations.
Okay,
Keep an Open mind until we sit down.
I will.
all right, well,
This-
yeah.
It feels like a waste of concrete to me, but
Is that more of a one-way?
I think it's a one-way with probably angled in parking throughout.
Okay. So that's supposed to be safer to.
I understand for roundabouts and actual traffic, but this isn't traffic. I don't know. Ms. Hamel.
Well, all this is fresh and new because I didn't do anything with this, but I love, love, love the playground equipment. I think that is so fun. It's so different. It's so unique. I haven't seen anything like this at all in Kent County, and we've gone to a lot of different parks. Because I have 3 littles. So I love that. I also love the thought of keeping it so that it's like in your sight line for different activities that you're doing. So like totally open to that suggestion. But I think it would be nice to have this stuff because this stuff can be used at all times. So I understand that they do lots of concerts and stuff, but when they're not doing concerts, then your littles can go there and play and the park can be used, which I think is what you want. You want it to be the most useful
I agree.
to the city. So, I mean, as having it be a conceptual plan, I'm all for people giving us their pros and cons and their opinions and like
Any
Ms. Nixon
specific
said-
structural things though that you would like to weigh in on? Because I know one of the specific things the manager was looking for was specific input.
I guess specifically then I wouldn't want the playground equipment then by the road or behind a sight line. So like if the majority of everything is this way, then I wouldn't want it behind.
There was a contingency for a fence.
Okay,
That would be,
that would,
We
that would
likely would have
fix
to also
almost all
put
of it.
by the creek if we put it up there as well,
okay.
along with the asphalt pad.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. And I do like the walkway. I think that's really cute.
Ms. Race.
I think it's an excellent idea. I actually, when I went to MML training, they took us to some other natural parks that they've done just recently, and they're just very well done.
Sure.
I like the way that it's set up. I agree with Ashley when I understand that this amphitheater and the concert and stuff, but a lot of times the concerts are at night. We have all day, all summer to use this equipment. So the safety, if you're looking at adding a fence, then I think that's safe either way. You're talking about like fencing it in or just near the road?
Well, so obviously, one of the things we're going with natural playground is you don't want to have a lot of stuff.
Sure.
You don't want plastic,
Sure.
so probably like a 3-rail split fence
Okay.
or more of the rope fence. One of the things that the engineers and I talked about was creating fencing through a berm, which is natural, obviously. But like I said, I encourage you to look at I hate calling it the Plan B, but look at Plan
The
B.
second plan.
The second plan, thank you, which does shift some of these things around. There's a give and take to everything though.
Sure.
Oh, I do have another comment real quick.
Sure.
With this, like the playground equipment, it seems like it would be kind of spread out, correct? Right?
I guess it depends on how you define the word spread out, because the closer you put some of these things together, the less asphalt you have to put in, the less cost there is.
Okay.
There's also,
Well, I'm just looking at each one of these pieces and it doesn't really seem like it would make it so that people can't fit in there. You know what I
Oh,
mean? It's
sure.
not like putting like a
but we
huge,
also have to
like,
have them a certain distance apart
playground
for
set
For
safety.
safety.
which is totally fine. But in that case, it's a pro because you can still have people go for
Yeah.
a concert and stuff and be standing next to the slide or whatever. It
Sure.
doesn't like, you're not implanting a huge thing that now everybody has to, you
Walk
can't use that
around
space
or-
at all now.
I would,
You could sit on the, next to the archway or whatever with the grass all over it. You can
Sure.
sit next to it.
Mhm.
It doesn't block anything.
Parents will be around. I mean, if they have small kids, they're gonna be where their
Out
kids
there
are
anyways,
and they're
sure.
able to still listen to the music.
for me, in this whole conversation about green space and space for the amphitheater for people to watch, and then the space for the playground, the big question, and I don't feel like I really got an answer to it, is how much space do we need for people to sit and listen? How many people do we think in a, I was talking to my favorite planning commissioner, and he said, so, let's say Metallica says, we'd like to come play. We're going to have to say, yeah, no. How about no? Right?
Yeah.
Because we're not equipped for that. So what is it equipped for? Now, I was saying maybe 1,000 at the most. Kurt's saying 500.
I think putting the playground equipment might bring more people in because of the concerts at 6 or 7. I'm not going.
Right, but there's
But I will
got to
go if
be
there's
a,
this fun stuff that my kids can just go in.
but there's got to be a square foot per person space. I mean, if you're watching this thing on Astro World, right? And
6
people,
feet apart.
well, but let's say it's not even a pandemic, okay? Like, is
Just in
there,
general, people.
maybe it's a question a police person could answer? Maybe you can't.
Yeah,
Maybe it's an engineering
I'm sure
question.
it's an engineering question, but we live in America, and Americans sure do like their open space. And how dare you get within 6 feet of me?
I understand, but there should be a number that we could at least start with of like, if we're gonna have 500 people, you have to have this much square feet per person, which equates to this amount of space.
Sure, I have that
And,
written down on my notes to ask.
okay, because I think that could clarify some of this for us. Okay, Ms. Nixon and then Ms. Powell.
So additionally, the library uses this park. And I wonder, because a lot of their events require an open field. And so I wonder if we shifted this playground equipment somewhere in the direction of the weird loop-de-loop, if that might be better. But again, not that we shouldn't have it, because I think it's gorgeous. I think this is a thing we should do. I think really we're just stuck on where should we have it? I think that's all.
My second piece of it was on the loop-de-loop. I really feel like, and again, I could be wrong. I feel like this is an engineering question and I will have an open mind when we get there. I feel like there's a more efficient way to put more cars into a smaller space and leave more open green space over there where we maybe put a pavilion. That's what I'm envisioning. But, and then we would get some of that more open green space. We would also have another pavilion that we ultimately kind of need. The pavilions we have are constantly used, constantly used.
Ms. Conley, I did ask them to put a pavilion into Plan C. And I did specifically ask about the roundabout parking because obviously I have the same thoughts. I think it comes down to square parking lots are industrial,
Yeah,
whereas round parking lots are a little bit more park-like.
I understand.
I think it comes down strongly to the aesthetics of the round parking.
Can we make it into like a parking tree?
But, well, this is my thing though. If our issue is green space versus play space versus parking space, and if the thing that I'm giving up is a more industrial shaped parking space to get more green space and more play space, then that's kind of where I'm gonna go. Like, keeping a pretty aesthetic parking lot is not my primary on my hierarchy of park needs. I don't know what other people are feeling, but I'm open to what the engineers tell me. Does anyone else have a feeling on that?
The parking lot,
Yeah,
I think it would be nice to have a covered pavilion. I don't know what room, how much room there is. In my mind, I'd like to see one big enough for a festival, like Red Flannel.
I agree.
Fiddler Festival. And
Class-
then they have the amphitheater to go up to perform.
5-year class reunions that often have them at a park.
Weddings, the whole 9 yards, but it has to be big enough, in my opinion. But I wanted to ask Renee, where were those parks that you saw
Right downtown Grand Rapids,
downtown?
What? Where?
right by the
Anomaly?
bus station.
The bus station.
Where the bus station is,
Oh,
right
Hardside
down.
Park?
Yeah, it's down through there and they just
Oh.
redid it and it's gorgeous.
Oh.
They put a beautiful bathrooms in there. It's all greenery and walking paths, and it goes up to a school, I guess, but there's a soccer field right there. And it's.
Is it
it's
Heartside or
gorgeous.
Millennium?
Oh, no, I don't know specifically the name of it. I have it probably on my phone, but
Are you asking for a field trip?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Party
I mean,
balls.
yeah, that'd be fine.
it's a
Okay,
choice of picture.
so let's conclude this conversation. Did we give you some more data points? Because I know that was one of the things you were saying is you didn't have any like real feedback on this.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the stuff you guys have brought up are things I've already brought up. You just haven't seen Plan B or Plan
Yeah.
C. But I do think it's important that we try to all get to the plan and public forum with these guys.
Mhm.
Sometimes I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but second they say it's gonna make a lot more sense.
Sure, this is the 6th.
Hopefully, I haven't been able to nail them down yet, although they are incredibly responsive and I appreciate that about them.
Wait, the 6th of what?
January.
Is that a meeting day?
We're hoping it to be. in-
Oh,
There's an email.
all right.
Although it'd likely be closer to 5:30 than 7, just based on their schedules.
This is when they're available.
We could also do it later towards the end of January, but I will be out of town, like I said, in the middle of January, so hoping to do it on the 6th. I'll give you guys more details as they come up. So please look at the 6th about 5:30.
Excellent.
Okay, any other thoughts, input on the playground for,
Really, any comments about the 5-year rec plan is more important, so.
okay, I really didn't have a lot to add. I mean, I guess I don't know. Do you want me to say, like, I think it looks great that you want to increase stuff in our parks? Like,
As much as I like hearing that, that doesn't actually help the,
what kind of specific feedback do you need to support that?
on page 5, second paragraph, I see my name is misspelled.
Oh, no.
Okay, got it.
I'm not saying that's a factual statement, I'm saying
Oh,
when you see issues like that.
So you would like it proofread?
Proofread is part of it. Also, for example, if it says in there something like Morley Park is perfect and we don't need to change anything.
Yeah,
You say, man, I think we should put water and electricity at the pavilion. I think we need to,
We have electricity.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying, if you see something in there, where it's perfect, or you want to see a specific change made at that park. For example, one of the things that we're already planning, and it's not part of this, is we're gonna hire a group to come in and tell us how to make Riddle Park and Morley Park playgrounds safer. And then hopefully funding, is there, but we're gonna start pulling pieces out of Riddle Park and replacing them with more modern, safer pieces.
Sure.
If that is your goal as a member of this community, and you'd like to see something done at that park, send those comments to me in an email.
Okay. Like, I would like to see some additional, we have swings that are disability friendly. I would like to see some additional disability friendly play equipment.
That's a very complicated topic.
Well, no, but if you're asking,
Yeah, I mean, the general statement of we'd like to see more ADA or disability friendly stuff, that's a great comment. So send me that to in an
okay.
email.
And I know as part of the disability community, I get feedback all the time about what a big deal those swings are. They're like, oh yeah, congratulations, you're the mayor of the city that has the park with the swings. I'm like, you're right, that's what I am. So that is, it's a big service that isn't always for needs for people that isn't always met. And when we have some of those pieces out there, they're very appreciated and well talked about and draw that specific audience. So there's some pieces of that I would like to see some more of. I can make a general statement to that effect.
Sure. And I should clarify, the only reason I say it's complicated is because they're very, very expensive,
Yes.
ridiculously expensive.
Those things were bought with CBDG money.
They're very easy to break, which of course then has to be replaced and they're very expensive. But thirdly, not all disabilities are the same, obviously.
Right.
So you can have equipment for one, which doesn't work for another, whatever. So it just gets complicated.
Sure.
Do you want to hear comments about the Morley Park, things that were
Yeah, if there's something that you would like to see in a park in the future, I want to hear a comment about it.
Well, our park has been kind of gobbled up by the museum. And you mentioned taking out the barriers for the road, taking the road out
Oh, yes.
and making it more of a park, which is something I kind of support. Except that there's a lot of people that like to drive in there with their picnic tables and their kids and stuff.
You're talking
would
about
be-
that like dirt road on the,
Yeah,
yeah, that part, that's annoying as a park goer.
yeah.
I know.
It's traffic running
yeah,
all the way
that- which
around
I
the
have to
park.
then like
So,
And
monitor
it's
my
just
children
muddy
like
and
crazy.
stuff.
Also, the back part of it, like there's a parking lot on the back part, like on the, I guess, the west part of the
Yeah.
park. That's also annoying because then you have to worry about your kids going over there and like stranger danger because there was like just open space for people to come over.
So just to make sure we're on the same page, Ms. Hamel and Ms. Powell, I believe I sent an email out recently discussing some of the things we could do with that.
Yeah.
road instead.
Yeah, and I liked those ideas, many of them.
So you should, if you feel that way, then you should respond in writing to the manager with that, so he can put documentation as conversation of that in the rec plan.
Yeah, I'll do
Okay.
that.
And Wriggle Park, it's, the dog park has brought a lot of people in there
Yes.
now. There's one kid that swings there all day long. I don't know who he is, but he's just
He is
having
there a
a
lot,
ball.
yes.
yeah. And the basketball court was busy. Of course, it isn't now, but I could hear him over there playing basketball quite often. So that's been a big asset, I think, to the city.
Yep, my primary concern with Regal is the play equipment's from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Some of it's from the sixties.
I wasn't there in the 60s. So.
I wasn't either, but I know the person who put it there, and that's what he told me.
They're still having fun over there, just playing and running and
The new basketball court has been used some.
it has
That's been nice.
more and more.
So I'm glad we did that. Okay, any other conversation on the rec plan specifically, but also we've talked about the specific park. We got it? All right, moving on. And did you get some data points?
Yeah, but
Okay.
you said send emails to me, please.
All right. Discussion on agenda creation policy. So there seemed to be some confusion about this. For as long as I have been on council, it has been the policy that anyone on council can put something on the agenda for discussion. And there seemed to be some confusion about that. So I am advocating that we make an official policy. Does anyone have any thoughts about that?
I would like to make a motion that it is the policy of the city of Cedar Springs that any city council person can request that an item be added to the agenda, so long as they do it 48 hours before the meeting.
Ms. Nixon, could I just interject for a second?
Absolutely.
Part of the issue is that this policy, which allegedly exists, is not written down.
So that would be the motion she just made.
So I guess my question is, are you advocating that your exact words right now is the policy? and that we
Yes.
can Write it down, or because Ms. Conley indicated
I-
she wanted to attempt to draft a.
I can. I'm more than happy to allow you to make a motion. I was offering to draft language for a
Oh.
policy. No, it's cool. I was offering to draft language for a policy first to ensure that my understanding of the council's view on this was what I thought it was. And then I would offer to allow you all to input language for a policy and/or I will draft a policy. But if Ms. Nixon wants to take this on, you certainly are allowed
I-
to make a motion.
I stand by my motion. I think that 48 hours before the meeting, anything prior to that would be a reasonable expectation.
And technically, under Robert's rules, you can actually add something to the agenda when we start. So that's really, this is.
Sure.
I mean, this is it should be, to me, it's a no-brainer, but is there a second?
Sorry, can I interject one more thing, more of a, less of a policy? Your agendas are generally made 7 days before the meeting.
okay.
The problem that we were discussing was, again, the policy I didn't know existed, was that a counselor could ask to have something put on the agenda, and that it would regardless be put onto the agenda as a discussion item. I fully acknowledge and have been practicing Robert's Rules of Orders, which is at the meeting, you can always add something to the agenda as a council person. So my problem is if we're saying 48 hours, the agenda was created 7 days ago. Are you asking that the agenda be withdrawn, changed, and added to at 48 hours? Are you asking that the agenda not be finalized until 48 hours?
Perhaps I need some more clarification on what exactly the issue was, because acknowledging absolutely up until the moment the agenda is adopted and go
Right,
ahead
or
and add.
printed, or printed.
Until we adopt it,
Uh-huh.
until
Yeah,
we
you-
adopt it at the meeting.
Right, right.
You
okay,
can add whatever,
Right,
but I think that it sounds like the issue on the city side of it is it got made 7 days in advance. It may have been printed or sent out or posted or what have you. So if within that 7 days prior to the meeting, something is requested to be added, it creates a lot of administrative headache.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
That would be part of it, but yes.
Okay.
Sure.
I would think also what might be a problem is if it's not put on ahead of time, the other council members don't have time to investigate or find information out about that said agenda item.
right.
Okay.
That was my initial, when we initially said, anybody can put something on the agenda for discussion, submit it to the manager and the staff at the time. And I think we've always said a week before,
Sure.
so that it can be
48
put
hours is
on.
arbitrary.
And the manager seemed to feel that it required 2 members of council to do this. And that's not how we've done it. And when someone said they wanted to put something on the agenda and you'll have to get a second and now it's not how we do it.
Well,
So,
I guess it's a discussion item, so
right.
we can always,
Sure, we can talk about it again next month.
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to so this will be my next piece and I'll go down and ask all of you first. Do you agree that everyone on the council should be able to add a discussion item to the agenda?
Isn't that what we've been able to do?
Well, there seemed to be some confusion about that. That is the way we have always done it. When a council member asked to do it, the manager felt that that was not the policy.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Womack, what was the other part? 'Cause so part of it is the administrative issue. What are the other things that are missing?
So my policy, which I've been holding, which the previous mayor had agreed to, was to essentially follow Robert's Rules of Order, which indicates that the secretary of the board shall make the agenda. And then at the meeting, any council person can add anything and then it would be voted to be added to the agenda. So that's the policy I've been following.
So-
Okay, so you would just rather it be added at the meeting then,
I mean, so that's always been the case.
as opposed to us sending it to you before and having this pull back and forth.
Well, then
Correct.
his position seemed to be that it required 2 council members to do that.
That
And
is a mischaracterization of my statement.
okay, then I'm not sure. The thing that I would like to know is, and what I think it should be, is that if any council member wants to add something as a discussion item, provided that it goes in when they're creating the packet, it should be added. That's my position on it.
Well, what I was saying about being a discussion item, it is a discussion item, so we don't have to make any action on it. So what I said
Right.
before about you having to investigate, I guess it's just an discussion item. So we can always investigate it after that or it, and still have,
Right.
it's not necessarily something we're gonna take action on. So I'm kind of, yeah, backing
That's fine.
off of what I
And-
was saying about having time to look into it. So I
don't understand. I'm confused
don't.
So was I.
So
too. I'm confused that we're even having this discussion
I-
really because
Well, there seemed to
Because it
be,
seems like if you want it
But is it
typed
a-
out, then
is
you
it
need to send it to them
confusion
7 days
between-
before. and if
Except
you
that
want
I
it on
was-
the agenda
except that someone
between us,
asked
then
to
you
do
just need
that
to
and
do
they
it
were
at the
told
meeting.
no.
Okay,
So I said, well, then we'll fix it.
yeah,
Renee,
that's fine.
when city manager Thad Taylor was here, Perry Hopkins and I wanted to put something on the agenda that was important. And Thad said we couldn't. We said, well, why not? And he says, well, the two of you have to come to the office, explain to me why you want it on, plus you have to write it down, which we did. So
But what does that have to do with now? I don't even know who that is. I honestly, I'm
so
sorry. I
we
just don't
clear-
understand those.
So we clarified at the time,
mhm,
the mayor and I, who were the mayor and the vice mayor,
mhm,
that wasn't how we were doing it.
mhm,
We clarified with the manager.
mhm,
And that if anybody wanted to put something on the agenda
mhm,
as a discussion item, that they would simply tell the manager or the clerk
that we could
prior
discuss
to,
it.
and that it would be put on the agenda to be discussed. And
Say
that's the
like-
way we've been doing it.
Say like
So-
tomorrow, you
so-
say, I want to discuss something next month.
I would just talk about it during the meeting.
But
I don't need to tell him ahead of time
You
when I
wouldn't
can,
want it on the agenda?
I can add it on the agenda that night. It's just a discussion anyway.
You could, but if you want to add it ahead of time so other people know it's coming, you should be able to do that.
I guess.
Okay, that was
We've always done the Roberts rules.
right,
I
which says
believe
that
that's-
anybody can add anything to the agenda at any time, which would include when it's being made.
I don't believe that's what Robert's Rules of Order say.
Okay.
And also, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but the only request that I've had at the meeting that you and I had and tonight is that we adopt a written policy,
Correct.
because there's been a lot of discussion. I don't know who you want me to listen to right now because it's a board, right? Please, a written policy. I'll be happy to do whatever you guys want.
So that's why we're here, because there seemed to be some confusion.
Okay.
So I said, so we'll put it on to have a discussion about making a written policy. And
Makes sense.
I will be happy to come up with language, but you all can also submit what you would like to see for the policy on this, on what it would look like. And maybe it's 7 days, maybe it's, you tell me. But we need to establish a policy to make this clear that anybody on
Before we
council,
just assumed,
and it's how we were functioning.
so we assumed. Okay,
My understanding was after the reason she brought up the thing about Thad is because Mayor Hall and I said, no, we're not doing this to people in writing ahead of time and convinced me. If anybody wants to put it on the agenda, you put it on the agenda.
but it never
And-
was written down. It was
No,
just what
and-
you guys made.
And
Okay.
then that is what we did. So, and that's what we've been doing for, how long ago was that? 7 years?
So I
Okay,
think it
so
would
I
be
think it should be that it's before the actual print is made. So
Yeah,
that it's
I
not a
do.
hassle for the
I like
staff.
it.
I do too.
And then if it's in between the 7 days and the meeting, then you need
add
to
it
wait
to the
until the meeting.
At the meeting, sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we will be coming back with that.
Mhm.
Send me specifics if you want, if it's beyond that. I'm basically getting the input on that so I can put that together. So it's a policy that we're gonna vote on and then Mr. Womack has some clarity.
Sometimes when you see the discussion on the agenda, it gives you a little time to look into things a little bit. And
Sure.
sometimes if it's important, you can actually put it into the action. So it's kind of nice to have a little heads up before the actual meeting. So that's my opinion.
Well, and if it requires any research or
Yes.
you want to be able to formulate intelligent questions or just in general. All right, any other input on that? So if you have specifics beyond what you've just told me, email them to me so that I can put them in language on a policy. Okay? All right, then moving on to, we are at.
Discussion of proposed
Wait.
planning commission city email addresses.
Yes, so the planning commission does not currently have city email. This would get them city email, and then we could also look at it with the fire department and I don't know, would DDA be part of this?
So I didn't propose the DDA because the DDA members are by and large business owners. who have their own kind of business email accounts, which are professional in nature. What I'm at least proposing here is that we protect people's personal emails. So I guess we could offer it to the DDA, but I think it's significantly less important.
Okay. So what's everybody's thought? Ms. Powell?
I don't know if DDA is less important because they could be FOIA just like anybody else, but I've never really worried about it. I never really actually realized the fire department and the planning commission didn't have a city email address. It's was kind of concerning, but
Well, it's less important because I think as professional emails, they're less likely to have, say, private pictures that we don't want people to see and stuff like that. That's what I meant by less important.
They're already more public. Their business emails are more public.
but
I
the
think that's-
DDA business is still, something to think about anyways. But I think it's a wonderful idea to get,
Ms. Atchison, having sat on.
Yeah, I think,
Commission?
if they have their own email addresses, they might get more response from the public, about certain things. And there might, in that, then again, it's better to be safe to have it in a city email than in your private email.
Certainly makes FOIA
Yeah.
easier. Okay. Ms. Nixon?
Well, I guess I hate adding one more email to anybody's
I
list.
know.
I can appreciate that in the event of FOIA, they would have to dig through people's personal emails. So I would say if the,
Having had 1,500 FOIA requests. Do you remember?
I do. Anyway, I guess if the planning commissioners would like an email, and then it would be the job of the city to provide that.
Okay. Ms. Hamel, having been on the planning commission.
Yeah, it's an issue for FOIA for sure, and it's also an issue with just having your email out to the public for everybody to see, because I was lucky that I didn't get like spammed, but it's a possibility because my just private email was just out, which you typically don't give out when you work for the city. So I am hugely in support.
I support it.
All right, so that feels like good discussion on that. And maybe DDA?
I don't know. Kind
How many members are on DDA again?
I just looked at
9?
that. I was gonna say
9, I
8, but
think.
9.
But you're saying that their email is already public email?
It's their
Is that-
business email addresses.
Is there a
Oh, so I
business?
wouldn't want to do that then. I personally don't think it's worth the money to do it like that. If you
Like I
already have
could
a
put it
public
on the
email.
DDA agenda.
Yeah. Could you
That'd be
ask them?
good.
Although the DDA agenda's already been made, so we can.
Sure.
do it after.
Okay, any other thoughts on that?
Without objection, I'll move forward.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. It sounds like we support it.
No objection to adding a fire department email.
No,
No.
no, that should absolutely happen.
Definitely
That's
blow up.
shocking that they don't already have it.
Chief
Yeah.
Frazier's email.
Do we have it Marty at?
If I might.
Marty is.
too hot to
City
handle.
Student.
Oh, he wants
Too
to.
hot.
Email
Sure.
account now that's on the city's website and business cards and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
There's like one general one, right?
it is basically a city email for the fire department, but not
Through the
a city
city.
email. if
Oh,
that
okay.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
So you already have an email that's
We have-
just
we
for the
have
fire
one that's
department.
On the website and business cards and stuff that, for the officers.
And the quicker that we change that. the
So-
sooner we won't have any
So
problems.
just to clarify, are you advocating that the fire department doesn't want emails?
I'm not saying that, no, all I'm saying is, in a sense, we have a city email, but not city email, if that makes any sense at
Yeah.
all.
Sure.
It's been used by the city for as far back as I can remember since the invention of computers. But it's not registered with, like Mr. Womack wasn't aware of it, but it's out to anybody that's connected or any vendors and salespeople and stuff.
Okay.
all have it, so.
Got it.
There are some tremendous administrative problems that exist from allowing a subpart of the government to have their own account.
Sure.
And as we discovered, when you don't control your own email or domain or whatever else, Facebook can delete your page. And so you no longer have access as the city manager to the city's Facebook page. So there are reasons why we want to do it. And to be honest, I'll probably force the issue with the fire department regardless of what this board thinks.
Okay.
Well, again, just to clarify that it was created before I became chief.
Sure.
We just continue using it.
I remember when I didn't have a city email on the city council.
Good old days.
So, yeah, the good old days. So I completely understand that, chief.
No way, shape or form, I'm giving out my personal email for fire business.
Right. Right, absolutely.
Plus now with the apps, I just have it all turned on to one thing, so it doesn't even matter. It looks like it's all in one account.
We could have the
So
former Gmail account forwarded to the new city account.
Right.
oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
not
that's a good
AOL.
idea.
Yes.
Maybe it's not old.
Hotmail.
Do they have, yeah, I was gonna say, do they have a Hotmail account?
SBC, that's even older.
Hotmail account.
All right, any other thoughts on that? So I feel like we've given you direction, yes?
Thank you.
All right, so then I guess we're moving on to sidewalk policy. And I really appreciated the clerk's search on this, because there has been, some of it went back into the 90s.
Sorry.
The clerk sent an email with all of the references.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my work that I did.
Oh, okay. I thought it looked like it came from Rebecca.
I
Okay.
believe I sent it to you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the searches that you did going back into finding, because I
They're pretty
mean, I
funny.
remember Ronnie Merlington talking about sidewalks. So I appreciated that search. Any thoughts on sidewalk policies?
So I did put together a starting point policy, which incorporates what the mayor and I discussed regarding this issue. It is, as you guys probably well know, a third rail of local politics. So tread wisely. Or we could continue to have the dangerous and unsafe sidewalks that we've had for many, many years.
Well, I know sidewalks are a thing a lot of the community have said that they wanted. I mean, the question is just how do you like implement, the devil is in the details in this particular one. Like, how do you pay for it and where does it go and who gets it first? And, you know, can they go around that tree that people don't want taken out? And that's the parts that can be contentious, but most people want a walkable community and want sidewalks. So what are thoughts?
So it seemed like there was discussion at one point about grants. And I'm having trouble recalling it just at the moment.
There's a
but that
new,
there was-
we qualify for a new chunk of money.
Yep. So as you guys will recall, 2 years ago, we spent about $500,000 of a CDBG grant on sidewalks on that side of the city.
Mhm.
And the policy at that time was if it's grant money, we don't impose any of the cost onto the citizen who's getting the sidewalk. Now, we do have an at-large portion of that we pay, I think it's 25%. We are now eligible for the same grant on that side of Main Street. And we've already put together a plan. And yeah, keep in mind, we're not providing Joe Citizen with a sidewalk in front of his house because we want him to have a sidewalk in front of his house. With these types of grants, we're really creating connectivity throughout the community.
Mhm.
So this plan, I believe, has a sidewalk from Pine Street to, I guess, the mayor's house on Fifth Street, you know, to create north to south connectivity on sidewalk. So at least the proposal is that through CDBG grants or other grant money that we impose no cost on the citizen for those types of sidewalks.
Mm.
There's all sorts of other sidewalks that we have to talk about where the cost allocation is going to be.
Right, so this specifically is referring to sidewalks that are already in existence, which do not qualify for that grant then.
So this policy encompasses several different types of sidewalks, business sidewalks that should have been put in as part of a site plan but weren't, sidewalks that don't currently exist in front of somebody's house, sidewalks that existed and have since deteriorated and are unsafe in front of somebody's house.
Whole lot of those
Dead
for Fifth Street.
ends. I mean, it's a very complicated issue.
I'm sorry, not Fifth Street, Beach Street. The one that goes uphill.
Yes.
I think the most important part, which is something the mayor came up with, was the carrot and stick approach, which is that we put together basically a list saying, hey, you know, we're thinking about putting sidewalk in front of your house, or just general writ large for the entire community. Saying, hey, if you come forward and you voluntarily get your new sidewalk, the city will pay X number, 75 is what I put in there. So you, citizen, would pay 25% of that cost.
Mm.
So that's the carrot. You volunteer, you're only paying 25%.
We've also done it in the past where you could I'm not gonna say this correctly, amortize it over 5 years.
Like
That's part of
into
this
your
policy.
into your city taxes, is that?
Correct.
Like your property taxes?
So Mike,
Correct.
that was the carrot, is if you come forward with these damaged sidewalks and say, hey, I can pay 25%, then you're only paying 25%. What was the stick?
So the stick would be that when we run out of volunteers, we would then, and again, this is all in the policy, we basically create a quadrant in the city, probably from Ash Street and Main Street going out in the various directions. And once a year, every 4 years, we would identify the worst sidewalks in that community, that section of town, and we'd write you a letter and say, hey, now you're going to be paying 50% because you didn't volunteer, or 20, 75%, whatever number you guys come up with.
Okay.
So if you are a homeowner and you have really bad sidewalks, you should volunteer, because otherwise 4 years from now, you might be paying the whole cost.
It's also good for your property.
And again, if we offer the amortization, like you then pay the amount, divided up by
Over time.
5. So if you don't have like when we did our sidewalks, I think, it was like $4,000. And we didn't get any. Matter of fact, my husband and I were just talking about this the other night, and we had to go pull it. And we were supposed to be eligible for the amortization, and then they decided that there was a grant, and so we weren't. And we actually ended up paying the whole thing and all in one shot, but not everybody could do that. But it was worth it to us, and we did a thing to have all of Fifth Street, and and they're beautiful, and it's wonderful, and my kid could ride his bike, and I think there's a lot of people that would actually want that if we gave them here's how you can do it in biteable pieces.
Hmm.
Oh, and with the amortization then, would you have a fee on that? And then, so you'd be paying a little bit more to
We'd prob-
amortize?
Yeah, we'd probably have to put some kind of administrative fee on top of that 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So could you do both then? Can you volunteer, only pay 25% and then split that into your taxes?
That's how
$1,000 for people is still a lot.
I was gonna say, that's how we used to do it.
Okay, I like that idea.
I'd have to make sure that the finance director was okay with that,
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
but I'm not opposed to it.
And
As an idea.
And a piece of that is, like, we had a sidewalk fund, and we would say, okay, we're gonna put this amount of money into it, and then we would take this many volunteers, and basically we would go until the money ran out. And in the amortization piece, like, you could use that to go back into the sidewalk fund for the next year. So it's kind of this
Oh, I
rolling
see.
piece.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sure.
Was that part of it too then? You said we don't have anything going into a sidewalk fund, or wasn't that a piece of it that we could start doing something?
Yep. So if you look at your budget every year, there actually is a line item for sidewalk fund, but not in the 5 years that I've been here that we ever put money in.
Put money into it?
Yeah. We used to.
I don't know when it was created. I don't know when they stopped funding it. But even today, even though the city is significantly better funded than it was 5 years ago, the amount of money we'd have to put in to make a dent is significant. So that'll be an issue.
Okay, yes, questions?
So why haven't we put money into a sidewalk fund?
So this shifted with, I want to say it was Chris Burns. Help me.
I'm not sure. I remember when it existed, but I don't know when it got
There was,
shut
there
off.
was a thing with, she didn't think that we should be putting any city money towards that. And we should only do it with, grant money. And that budget got zeroed out because that was actually the year that we did ours. And then that budget was empty, which is why we then didn't get
I
any.
don't think that budget should be zero.
Well, I'm just saying that 3 city
That's fine,
managers
yeah.
ago.
Moving forward, my opinion would be that should not be zero, because
Well,
the
and I-
sidewalk is bad enough that it's causing, like, people are.
And
gonna
this
get
is,
hurt
this
on it.
is
You
what the
can't just
manager
say
is
that, right?
advocating. Up until this point, we've had other fires or waters burning brighter. So we've been putting money towards making sure our sewers are working and our streets and so on. So this is, and to the manager's credit, this is when we hired him, this is one of the things we said was on our list, right? Was sidewalks. And he's now getting to that place.
Okay,
So that would be part of what, but then he of course had to go find
sure.
all of these 4,000 policies that go back to 1990 on how it has worked in the past.
It's largely a money issue. When Chris Burns was here, I don't know the exact dates, but we had the 2008, 2009 financial crisis that destroyed the city's budget. We are
Yeah.
just now getting to a point, plus marijuana money, that I think we should be able to start doing this pretty regularly.
I'm
So-
not judging anybody.
No, no,
No,
no.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
but
in
here's-
terms of a
we
budget
don't
item,
know,
that really
so.
should be something that we at least squeak by with a couple of dollars in there.
So,
It might not be a lot to begin with, but at least then you can fix
can
the
build it.
block.
so here's a
you need to.
question. When you're talking about marijuana money, so we're talking about the idea of using marijuana money for parks, like pot for parks. Could we not use some of that to fund a sidewalk fund?
Well, so, one of the things about budgets is you never want to have a necessary required thing being funded by a non-renewed
Sure,
fund.
non-consistent.
Yeah, so we don't know how much money we're gonna have for marijuana year to year. Now, the way we have set it up in the city is I'm looking at probably in the 200 to $230-ish thousand per year if money's, stays consistent, sales stay
Oh, yeah.
consistent. But that's with 7 stores. I don't anticipate 3 years from now that we're gonna have 7 stores. We might have 3 or 4.
Right.
So now you're looking at maybe $120,000 to $150,000. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about how you guys want to allocate things.
Plus, you can move stuff, right? We can move. stuff.
Sure, of course.
So like if our park
So one of the great things,
budget is flush, then we can move it over.
so one of the great things that I like doing with the city is every year we give you guys a report of how we did last year.
Mhm.
And so, we have a budget of $2 million, and if we only spend $1.8 million, well, you've got $200,000 to spend on whatever you want. It does have to come out of fund balance. You'd have to approve of it. That's a way we can do things.
Pocket Park got built that way.
So one of the things that we're kind of really advocating is, not sure I want to tell you this, but for the most part, when the budget is created, that is me and staff. In 5 years, you guys have had very little, input about what you guys want to do with it, which I hope is because you're trusting us to make the budget, we make the budget appropriately. But what I'm saying now is, do you want staff to make this a portion of your budget?
Mhm.
Because
I would say yes.
well, and so, we could do it one of 2 ways. We could do the rest of the things we got to do and whatever's left over, put in there. Or you guys will say, hey, we want
this-
$25,000.
Sure.
Certain amount, yeah.
Sure.
And now $25,000 of something else won't occur, which is fine.
Right.
We'll figure out a way to make it work.
So one of my questions would
But
be,
it's-
when we're looking at marijuana, and I understand that we don't necessarily know the amount of money, it could vary from year to year, but couldn't we put a policy in that we put 20% of our marijuana money into a sidewalk budget?
We-
Which isn't a dollar amount, it's a So whatever, if we make $10, then 20% of that goes in. If we make $200,000, 20% of that goes in. I don't, and I'm not asking you all to
Sure.
tell me for sure. I'm saying roll that around in your brains.
But if the money is coming in anyway, we can just say from that bunch of money, a certain percent or a certain amount we want in there per year. Just even, and I don't know cost of blocks of.
Sidewalks
and it's all
expensive.
different because of the economy right now and pricing and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but enough that you can say if a certain block needs to be done, we know we're covered for that at least, you know? 'Cause I don't,
Madam Mayor, if I could just one
Sure.
comment on that. So I don't know anybody who likes, any manager who likes to say a percentage of this has to go to this, because this park thing that we're talking about, let's say it's $400,000. And the city has to put in a 25% match, we need $100,000. Well, one year, the pot for playgrounds, 100,000 of that goes to this because we're tripling up our money.
Sure.
I would hate for us to say, oh, well, you know, because of the sidewalk thing, we're short, we can't do the $400,000.
Got it.
So on a year-to-year basis, I can understand a rolling, similar to our Act 51 non-motorized.
Right.
On a 10-year basis, we have to spend 1% of that on non-motorized.
Right.
So maybe more consistency like that.
Sure. But I was just thinking if we had some kind of a policy of this is how we fund this.
I think there's a certain soft policy involved when you, so let's say year one, starting next year, we put 25,000 in that budget. The soft policy is every year from now on, you're gonna look back at what you did last year. You're gonna say, wow, we had 25,000 in that budget last year. We should put 25,000 in the budget next year. And until you hit a place where, you know, you need 25,000 because the sky is falling.
Sure.
Another thing too is with the pot money, I feel like it's just like fun money. Cause we don't really know for how much we're gonna get. And so to me, the funding the sidewalks is like something we need to do. Like, it's not just like extra fun money that we can then be like, look at all this fun stuff we got for the city because of the park. Like, it's a safety issue. So
Yeah, I
to
can
me,
just
it's
tell
a
you
different-
at the bottom of 12 years of being on city council, sidewalks are like the last of the important things. I mean, it's just how it rolls. I mean,
So I totally agree with you, but I would say just in the last year or two have we gotten to a point where all of our needs are really being taken care of by the budget.
yes.
And I mean that without.
Which I'm not trying to mess that up at all. So one thing about me is I'm obsessed with budgeting. So I'm still getting used to all the numbers because I don't have $2 million income. So, but I don't know. I just separate it differently, I guess, but it's all kind of the same money in the same pool at the end of it.
Well, yes and no. There are things that like if it goes into the water budget, we cannot move it.
right.
Like it's locked there.
Okay.
That's and we've had a lot of water infrastructure expenses and that has to come before sidewalks. Like
Which is fine. I mean, I do the same thing with my budgeting. So my mortgage is a non-take from category.
right.
I can't take from that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
yeah,
but
this is
I-
actually like a law.
I
How
just think
it's
it's-
divided. Yeah.
I believe the same way. For me, roads, sidewalks are actually more important. That's infrastructure.
Yes.
That's more important to me than, I'm sorry, tons of playgrounds in the city. I do like the playground idea and our Rex idea. I don't want you to think I don't, but it's important to me to have sidewalks and.
Well, I'm
have-
not saying not use the money
roads.
if we don't have the money for sidewalks.
No, no,
That's
no.
exactly what I'm saying is we need to fund the sidewalks. That needs
Exactly,
to
and
be
that's what
funded.
I'm saying. I'm agreeing
I would
with you.
appreciate not to use the fund money for it,
Right.
but if we have to, then
Right.
that.
And I'm
that
agreeing,
is an
totally in
actual,
agreement
like,
with you,
bill, I guess,
Ashley.
for the
Yeah,
household.
definitely in agreement.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm in agreement.
So I guess
with
what
you.
we're saying is we want a sidewalk fund
Yes.
that we want to put some money in.
Yes.
We need to probably talk with Darla what that number should be.
So that's what I was gonna get to is, we could talk about funding until we're blue in the face, but let me and Darla work on that March, April. What I really need for you guys to work on is the policy.
Right.
So what percentage do we expect other people to pay?
Okay,
What?
Oh, for this, okay,
okay.
for this.
What-
for the policy.
How are we going to determine who gets to go first? At what point do we require it? How long can you amortize it? What would be the structures on that? So you need to think about that so that we can come up with a policy for that.
So in this policy that you have, I can't remember, the new homes, new buildings, are they, is it in that policy too?
Yep. So the current policy, which is in this policy, is that if you are a developer of a new neighborhood, you're required to put sidewalks on both sides of the road, although I did give permission not to do that in a certain way if you want to talk about that. But infill housing, generally, we haven't required it. But I could.
What is that?
Well, some of the businesses, we put in their agreement that
We've
they
been
wouldn't have
waiving
to do it until later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the same thing with housing, residential?
Kind of. So to answer Ms. Hamill's question, infill housing is like a mid-block, single lot where a house burnt down or it just never got built. So a house then gets built, but we generally don't require the sidewalk unless it's mid-block or something.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Makes sense.
But maybe this issue is more ripe for a workshop discussion.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot here.
Yeah,
But I really do need you to start looking at things, coming up with numbers and being ready to rumble, I guess.
Yes. How much sidewalk are we going to get with this new grant for this side?
I mean, I
Depending on-
believe I've sent.
Ballpark.
think-
I know you sent us stuff.
Yeah,
but-
I think the current estimate is that we would redo parts of Second Street. We would do Fifth Street on the west side of the road from Pine all the way down to Beach or Church.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
Well, we're already, yeah,
And then also from Second Street across, again, I can't remember if it's Church or Beach, but to Wiggle Park. So the Fifth Street is obviously a huge portion of that.
no sidewalks.
yeah, but I have brand new beautiful sidewalks.
Yeah, and so there are portions we wouldn't do,
Right.
but there's a significant portion of Fifth Street we would do. Now, of course, there's always give and take there as well. Is it Northern Lights business there? The sidewalk that is south of that business is in good shape, but it's only 3 foot wide.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's another piece, like the new sidewalks to be ADA are a whole lot wider.
They're 5 foot. So do we want to eliminate that block because it's in good shape? So we can spend $30,000 to $50,000 on some other block, which is,
But did you include Main Street?
sorry,
Did you include Main Street?
I work with Main
Did
Street.
you
Did you include it? Main Street has,
There's some like
That's a
ones where the blocks are
totally-
like.
yeah, I was gonna say that, and that's a separate,
You're still paying off the millions of dollars of streetscape bonding that we did for, I don't know, when was this done?
help me. Jerry was DPW director, 15 years,
When Chris was here and they did all the.
the $1 Million Mile, they called it.
Yeah, that's right.
It was under Chris Burns.
They had to do it though.
It needed to be done. I'm not advocating it's not, but it was, Jerry oversaw that. It
So
was his last hurrah as DPW director. So I'm gonna say 15 years ago.
so I guess the answer to your question is, we're talking about the difference between a 5 foot sidewalk and, I don't know, 15-ish wide sidewalk, along with all of the underlayment pipe
And the drainage and the trees,
earth boxes and all sorts. of stuff.
electrical.
You're probably looking at about $1.5 million to $2 million to do sidewalk up and down the street.
At the time when they did it,
Can we like temporarily patch the bad parts?
Well,
though?
and so this is part of the quadrant idea, is we would have to identify where the dangerous sidewalks were
Okay.
and then use funding to fix those.
Okay.
Although, what I advocate for is the DDA create part of their funding for sidewalk replacement. So at least in the downtown area, we have a guaranteed amount each year.
That's a great idea.
Good
We
idea.
should, yeah. Yes, if we had a DDA person to talk about. So, yeah, so roll it around in your brains, and I would even say, like, go walk around a little. And take a look. We do have some really awful sidewalks. You know, when we replaced ours, the joke was Amy Hall used to say we have to mow our sidewalks. And the point at which you're mowing your sidewalk, it's probably time to do something about it. I do know that's a huge thing for our community, and if we can start to make that happen, that would be amazing. So anybody else got any other input on that? And yes, I think it would be wonderful if we could come up with a workshop on it. All right, then communication. Oh, city manager, anything else? I guess that's the memo that is on the sidewalks for the grant piece. So anything else on that? So communications, community event calendar. Anybody got anything they want to talk about? You often do, Rose?
I was gonna save it till council comments, but there's quite a few things going on, but it can wait.
Okay. The old fire barn inspection report, anyone, the two pieces, it came out actually better than we expected, so it should be
Alright.
relatively easy to contain the asbestos. Anybody have any questions on that? Open Meetings Act handbook and the 2021 board meetings calendar. Everybody feel good about that? All right, department reports, city manager.
Sorry, I'm trying to contact the city attorney, let her know that we're gonna be ready in a few minutes for our next part of this meeting. It's just been incredibly busy last month or so. As you guys see, I accomplished quite a bit. Oh, that is not a good email for, or phone number for. So the reason the old fire barn inspection report is in here instead of a RFP to demo is because I just didn't have time to write it. So complicated month, lots of stuff going on, and yeah. Next one, I will be suffering in Maui while you guys are here in the snow.
I'm so glad you're gonna be able to make that happen.
Rude.
I'm not, you're the worst.
Oh, it's so hard. Like, I have an aunt who's in her 90s in Miami, and I don't know how to get there in a way that's safe. So yeah, and she can't hear me on the phone. So I'm really glad you're able to make that work in a way that's safe for you. So I'm happy that's happening. All right, then anything else? Any questions for the city manager about his report? Department of Public Works, infrastructure alternatives. We got anything for Mr. LaRose?
Oh, Bill.
I'm here.
Got any questions for Mr. LaRose?
Bill, I read this flow data and it is just amazing how the water processing is. The difference of 57 million gallons compared to last year. That is
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
something. I think a lot of that had to do with that county storm drain and the fact that it's absorbing a lot of groundwater that was getting into the sanitary.
Well, that is just great. It just worth the money then and the headache it was.
Yep. It gained us a lot in capacity, so it was a good thing.
Sure does. It's not cheap to process all that water.
Oh, that's for sure. And also will allow us to grow more before we have any issues with capacity at the plant. So it's a positive.
That's wonderful.
And you did a great job with all the leaf pickup and dealing with all the brush in the last storm. And so thank you for that. And thank you to your staff.
Yep, I will let them know. And now they're fortunate enough, we're moving inside, painting inside of the well houses and stuff like that. So
Good.
Excellent.
Good. And hopefully we get minimal amounts of snow here for a while.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works. So anybody else got any other questions for Mr. LaRose? Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything from our wonderful police chief, Sergeant?
I got it.
I would just like to say that I did the mingle with Chris Kringle and Sergeant Probst was out there directing traffic and was wonderful in keeping our community safe and helping Santa find his way to the tree lighting. So that was greatly appreciated. And it's always comforting when we have all these little kids out in the middle of the street to have police that are directing things and making things safe. So that was greatly appreciated for that. And he did a wonderful job. So anything else for Sergeant Probst? Fire Department, Marty.
You have my report. We've been busy.
Yeah, I
Really busy year.
see that. Whew, lots of medicals.
I cannot believe there's been 23 structure fires this year. That's insane.
I didn't hear what you said.
That there's been 23 structure fires in Cedar Springs. Is that what your report said? Maybe not. Maybe I started it.
Structure fires?
I withdraw my comment.
That's since
From
first
this year,
but
yeah.
Not all of them are from Cedar.
Okay.
We have automatic aid with
Solon.
surrounding.
Oh, I didn't
Nelson.
know that. Okay.
We may have been in Sand Lake on a couple, maybe so on.
Okay, that's, okay, that makes more sense.
That's the total for the year, including mutual or automatic aid.
And
Okay.
we contract, I shouldn't say we, Nelson contracts with us, right?
Yes, we cover half of Nelson Township, from 16 mile to 19 mile out to Keller. That's something new. We didn't cover, we covered about a third. This year we're covering a half. One thing, not really about my report, but item of concern, these carriage rides that went on tonight. The first one was barely visible. They had a couple lights on the carriage, like a couple of brake lights on the back, but hardly see it. Ton of kids up there at 6:45. Along with parents. However, the second carriage was lit up quite a bit better. They had like a headlight hanging from the horse's rein. They had a couple lights on the front of the carriage, and some blinking lights on the back of the carriage. I'm not wanting to rain on the Chamber's parade, no way, shape, or form. The Chamber does a lot of good things for the community. However, I think maybe it would behoove somebody with some authority other than me to mention to the chamber that if this event were to happen again, that we have to take the safety of the visitors, adults and children in mind, because I sure don't want to be out there scooping a kid out from underneath the carriage.
Sure.
or car.
Isn't there some laws about slow moving vehicles having to be lit at night?
Yes, sir. I was not aware of the carriage rides this year. In years past, they've come to me and asked for, how much it costs to have police officers out there guiding us or patrolling some of our areas. Since COVID, we were working with things, now we're back to doing them. It costs money for us. Kind of slowly getting made. We still should be consulted about what the
Yeah.
plans are, kind of doing what they're kind of going. I understand the carriage ride stayed off Main Street, right, Marty?
No.
No, I followed one in and I could hardly even see it.
But this is not even like our policy. There's a
This is
regular law
law.
about, I mean, I own a farm in Lakeview with Amish people nearby and they,
People that do carriage rides do abide by those rules.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who they have.
maybe they
this
just
year
didn't
doing it.
know. They were out. I don't know, but.
but
I
I'm
was-
just saying like, that's a pretty, that piece, and I'm not, we absolutely should include our police in it in the future, but there should be a pretty easy, like, you need to have your vehicle lit according to laws. I mean, that feels like a pretty easy enforcement piece that we could,
It's not common. It's not really known. You have to research.
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm from a farming community. I don't know.
Well, I support Mike's suggestion to keep them off of Main Street,
Yeah.
keep them on the side streets. One,
Well, without control.
yeah, without control, and they don't want to pay for control, obviously, it's expensive, but they can go around the neighborhood.
This is a
One year, the horses got
major
loose.
Artery.
Yeah,
It's like, And it's dark way early.
And
it's
there's
just-
games. One year the horses got loose
Oh my God.
and it was just, I worked at Conrad's on the corner and I could hear the clippity, clippity, clippity clop. And the horses had tipped over the sled and they ran through the Wesco gas station. They ran across Main Street and they came right at a dead stop at MC car place
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Do you remember that, Marty? When them horses got loose and ran down the damn street. Oh, that was amazing
I
that
have-
nobody
I have a
got hurt.
question about on Main Street. Now, again, I own property in a place with Amish neighbors. Can we tell them they can't?
Well, it's open to the public. It's always open to the public. So,
Right, and that includes
as long as
horses.
we're not violating the rules of the road or the rules of the city ordinance and stuff, we control. we have rules for
Events.
snowmobilers as well. They have to abide by all the state rules, but we have allowed some different rules to happen in the city.
Okay, because I know like you can't drive a snowmobile down Main Street. Like that's not but a horse and carriage is like a bicycle, am I
And there,
right?
As I've indicated in previous years, we do still have the authority to tell them no on their community event application.
Okay,
We would control this.
okay, because I was gonna say, I think an Amish person in their buggy can go down the street. Yeah,
Again, I don't want to step on the parade. I welcome the events to town.
Has to be
As you can
lit.
See by my report, we're involved in a lot of them.
yeah,
My concern is safety.
yeah.
And it was mentioned that maybe we don't allow them to go down Main Street. Well, Second Street's just as dark. I think my point is getting that they need to be better
Lit.
lit. They need to be able to be seen, and like Ms. Race is saying, I followed, I swung by up there to just see how things were going before the meeting tonight. And wow,
My
wow.
Amish neighbors have kerosene lanterns on either side of their buggies that I mean,
It's Christmas.
I don't even think there was like a reflection.
yeah, I'm not advocating it should be kerosene. I'm just saying that for people for whom that is transportation, they actually have light.
Oh, again, I don't want to be on anybody's
Mhm.
parade, but
Mhm.
I understand too that a certain part of our community events,
Safety.
I don't want to dump anything on
Yeah.
Mr. Womack plate either. God knows he's got enough to do as it is, but
Mhm.
somebody somewhere needs to say, hey, we don't mind you having these events, but like I said, there's
Yeah, no, they need to be lit.
Well, the Amish get hit all the time too.
They
so,
do.
you know.
They do. But there's actual laws that they need to be lit.
I hope so.
So, okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Let's see, anything for our city clerk?
Just one thing, Rebecca wanted me to mention to you guys, that there is a handout on the new proposal for the Hear My Vote that is coming down the pipe. She just wanted to take a peek at it.
Okay.
Look at it.
Okay.
Oh, is it? This is what.
Yes. And that hasn't actually passed, right? Yeah, and actually probably won't.
This is one of those end run arounds that one political party is attempting to do
Right.
so that the governor cannot veto the law.
But do they have enough votes to make that happen?
Well, it would be a voter initiative
Right.
and it would go to the legislature.
Do they currently have the votes to get it on?
I think they're going to attempt when the spring or summer comes.
Okay.
We don't know.
They don't currently, like it's not
I'm not aware of it,
it's
but
not in the process.
we've identified that's what their likely attempt will be.
Right. There isn't a set ballot with signatures getting counted right now.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Finance Director, anything from Ms. Falcon?
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, anything that we need to know beyond your report? Anything you would like to elaborate on? Anybody have any questions for her?
The biggest project I just started working on, before the end of our fiscal year, we have to change our chart of account. So some of the account numbers will change. The state is trying to come up with a uniform chart of accounts for all municipalities. So that's gonna be a pretty big project that I need to tackle now because to get it done before we start our budget process, which will be in about 6 weeks. So I'll get her done.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for making that happen.
Yep.
Proactive as always. Code enforcement, anything?
It's an ongoing battle.
I think the town's looking quite nice.
Mm-hmm, beautiful.
Anybody have any code enforcement questions? Building inspection, we just have that on there. We don't actually do anything with it. Since Stosh,
Staff does accept reports all the time.
Of course they
We
do.
don't put on the agenda.
we
so-
used to have a person.
So we've also talked about,
Moving.
we modified the planning commission bylaws. Maybe we should do that for this board.
Yeah, maybe.
Hmm.
Remember Stosh?
Mhm.
Board and commission minutes, library board minutes. I attended the library board meeting. It all is like running together after Santa, and let's see, it would have been Tuesday night. They are interviewing to replace Donna Clark. She is retiring in January. They had 2 applicants, is my understanding. Actually attended the meeting, as did Counselor Powell last
Yeah,
week.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago. And they had 2 applicants. On Tuesday night, one of the applicants bowed out, so they had 1 applicant. They had the audience ask the questions. And then they adjourned the meeting. So there has not been a determination if they are seeking more applicants, if they're hiring this person, if they're, I'm told that there may be another meeting on Friday. It wasn't entirely clear.
Madam Mayor, if this is something that's concerning you, which is probably.
I'm just saying, we are at the library board meeting, and I am telling you what I have recently observed. So there's supposed to be a meeting on Friday.
If I can continue. We do have 4 board members that
Mhm.
are appointed by the city.
Yep.
Should be following what the city wants to see done. If we're unsatisfied with that, I would like to have a meeting with those 4 individuals. and
Yeah.
express our concern.
I was concerned about a variety of Open Meetings Act violations regarding like posting the meeting and the time that they were posting the meeting. Who's running the meeting was problematic.
So it sounds like there needs to be a meeting. with
Yeah, I
our
think that might need
representatives
to
from that
happen.
board.
And I'm not interested in telling them who to hire, but they do need to follow Open Meetings Act processes, and they can't hire the person in private. Like it's not legal. So
If you're okay with it, then I will have a meeting with them.
that would be wonderful. And I would be happy to sit on that meeting with you if you would like. I'm also happy to not, if you prefer.
I
That's
think
up
it's
to you.
More of a timing issue than anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was on the library board for 6 years,
is
so
What time Friday, do you know?
I don't, they weren't even sure. He said, I think we're going to have a meeting, another meeting. And I said, do you know when? And he said, I think Friday sometime,
Hmm.
which again is problematic for a public meeting. Like it has to be, I said to Bob, you have to post it. And he said, well, we'll work on that.
Madam Mayor, we do have our city attorney and
Yes, waiting, absolutely. So anyway, I just wanted to fill folks in, because filling the library is a big deal.
Mhm.
I mean, the librarian's a big deal. So, and the one person seemed perfectly lovely, but I have no idea what direction the library is going. So any other things did you have anything else from library board?
No.
All right. Then any other boards and commissions? City council agenda for the last year. Council comments, Ms. Powell.
Just a couple things. The blood drive is the December 21st. It's at the United Methodist Church. And we were moving it to the library, give it a little more exposure, but a little better parking. So looking forward to that. Starts in January. And folks can go to the Versity website to schedule. And it's a wonderful website. If you get in it, you make your appointment, you got to change it. Bada bing, bada boom, you can change it, or you can go someplace else if that works better for you. So we're looking forward to having it at the library. This guy's coming to the Kent Theater, and we're hoping to have a big turnout for that. He's a big shooter, Las Vegas act. So hopefully,
Fun.
yeah, Saturday, December the 18th at 7 o'clock. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and the library for the Chris Kringle and the parade and the lights and as the singing. It was just a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it. I guess that's about it. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Atchison?
I'm excited about what's going on, you know, keeping all these events going, except for, once again, we need to worry about safety. And if I recall, we weren't getting that, we didn't get that event thing as soon as we should have either. So that's something we're gonna have to look at next year. I don't want anybody to anyway think I'm not grateful for what the CBDT has been doing for the amphitheater and everything. I just want us to work well together. Not one part of it should be making all the decisions. Also, my mind is not with me tonight. I think that's it, actually.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Ms. Race?
Good meeting, a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
We have a lot of
We just
stuff.
have to keep going through this and
Mhm.
we'll get there. A lot of stuff for us little ladies to deal with, so,
Right.
but, it was good. I appreciate, you know, how everything's running and, you know, happy, all of that. For the season.
Yeah.
Or
Pick
this
a holiday.
coming- Yeah. happy
Whatever you
holiday.
celebrate.
It's the end of the year. I cannot believe it. Jeez.
Ms. Hamill?
I'm just excited about everything and I hope that the public continues to give their input because that's the way that we can serve them. If I don't know what you're thinking, then I can't help you. So I hope that everyone feels encouraged to tell us what they do and don't want for things that we're discussing.
Okay, Ms. Nixon?
That's a long meeting.
Yeah.
Not
Been a
really.
while, not,
It's been not midnight long,
right.
but it's been a while since we've gone past 9 o'clock. Huh, lots of stuff. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. That's all I got.
I just say, we did mingle with Chris Kringle. It was wonderful. We have added to the lighting. So in the past, we've done the tree. They've now added 4 of the trees along the park. And my understanding is the plan is to continue to expand that so that it will be like a whole, the heart of Cedar Springs will be entirely lit when Santa comes and pulls, you know, the switch. So I think that's a really wonderful thing that we're adding as we look at featuring more playground equipment and so on there. And it's a really nice expansion on that tradition. So I was glad to see how that was working. And I guess with that, we are moving into, let's see, proposed code 2021 code recodification.
So I put that at the end of your agenda because it's 400 some odd pages. I didn't want it to be in the middle of your
It was
agenda.
quite a bit.
Thank you.
So I needed it to be both available to you and the public to review. I don't know how we're gonna deal with it next month because we're probably gonna ask you to pass it and approve of it, the recodification, but I also don't want to put it in the middle of your agenda. So it might be a similar thing. Motion or resolution will be in the middle, do we
have to have a hearing on it?
Probably, I mean, it's not
Public
the worst
hearing?
thing in the world to consider.
No, but do it, like, I guess this was my question. Do we have to have a hearing on each one,
No,
Oh,
so
bless.
this is,
right?
This is an ordinance, so we only
Right.
have to follow the ordinance requirements.
Okay,
Now, it's not a bad idea to do that, although this is the most dry, boring stuff you'd ever want to deal with. Nobody will have any comments, I assure you. Really, this is a question of where do I put it into your agenda?
right.
So that's why it's at the end.
Okay, any questions, thoughts on it? All right, and it's a thing we do every
10 years.
10 years.
Or so.
And we used to print it in big paper books and it was quite a thing. So be glad for the internet.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. So take a look at them if you have any questions, I would say. And then with that, we will be moving into closed session. So I will take a motion to go in.
Could we have a break?
Oh, would you like a break
Can we
first?
have a short break so we can get the attorney and the engineer?
I think that sounds wonderful. Let's
Yeah.
take a, what, 10 minute,
Order the better.
5.
5 minute?
However long
Okay.
it takes them to set
We
up.
are recessed for 5 minutes. Have a good evening. You got a kid getting ready for exams.
Oh my God. No, I didn't.